I'm Steve Skojak, and this is the OnePeterFive Minute. Hello everyone, today is Tuesday, February 12th, 2019, and we're not even going to be close to a minute today, so avert your eyes from those clocks you see before you. Here are this week's top stories. Cardinal Gerhard Müller, former prefect of the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, has issued a Manifesto of Faith, citing increasing confusion about the doctrines of the faith and the fact that today many Christians are no longer even aware of the basic teachings of the faith. So there's a growing danger of missing the path to eternal life. He's talking about the Pope. Commentators have noted that Müller appears to be offering course corrections on issues of particular concern from the pontificate of his former boss, Pope Francis, with a specific focus on these areas. The fundamental difference in the beliefs of Catholics than those of other religions, which stands in contrast to the Pope's recent joint statement with Islam. A rejection of the allowance of Holy Communion for the divorced and remarried, in contrast to the permissiveness of Amoris Laetitia, and the papally-endorsed bishop's guidelines that followed its publication. A rejection of communion for Protestants, in opposition to the Pope's refusal to issue a firm negative declaration on intercommunion, even when asked directly by the Lutheran spouse of a Catholic if she could receive. The Pope told her instead, "Talk to the Lord and then go forward." A rejection of the Pope's assertion in Amoris Laetitia that no one can be condemned forever, and his allegedly repeated stated beliefs that there's no hell. A rejection of the relaxation of priestly celibacy, or the possibility of female ordination. The German cardinal drives his points home by saying that to keep silent about these and the other truths of the faith and to teach people accordingly is the greatest deception against which the Catechism vigorously warns. It represents the last trial of the Church, the last trial, and leads man to a religious delusion, the price of their apostasy. It is the fraud of Antichrist. This is not a small statement. And yet, despite all these pokes in the direction of papal eyes, Müller never mentions the name of Francis, not even once. This may have earned him the ire of papal ally and Hall of Fame heretic Cardinal Walter Kasper, who says that Müller is spreading confusion and division with his unacceptable blanket statements, and that the former CDF prefect is following in the path of Martin Luther. Yes, you heard that right. This friend of the papacy that celebrated the 500th anniversary of Luther's so-called Reformation, that put Martin Luther on an official Vatican stamp, that actually allowed the German section of Vatican Radio to release an image of the Pope himself dressed up like Martin Luther, somehow thinks he can pretend that comparing anyone to Luther in this context should be seen as an epithet by Team Francis. It's as though when God said he was handing out brains, he thought he said trains, and he said, "No thanks, I'll catch the next one." But what irritates me even more than the feigned clutching of pearls from the cardinal separated at birth from Dr. Ruth is that Cardinal Müller waited until he was absolutely certain he was never going to have another important Vatican job to start doing the job he was assigned as prefect of the Congregation of the Doctrine of the Faith. You know, actually defending the faith. He had the one position, the one job in all of Christendom that carried the most weight outside the papacy itself. But he was too busy trying to look good, throwing the dubia cardinals under the bus and refusing to be the, quote, leader of a movement against the Pope, end quote, to actually make a stand when it counted. And even now, he's not calling the man out by name. It's clear whose errors are being refuted. So could we please stop playing these cutesy little games where we need a Cracker Jack box secret decoder ring to know the score? Just once, I want to see one of these prelates man up and say it directly. The Pope is the one causing all of this confusion, and my conscience compels me to speak because my loyalty is to Christ first. See how easy that was? I just did it on camera. There's no lightning coming down. The ground didn't open up and swallow me. There are no locusts beating at my windows. It's not so hard. In other news, the Spanish-language religion magazine Vida Nueva has reported that the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith may be preparing to laicize former Cardinal Theodore McCarrick, just as the February Vatican meeting on clerical sex abuse with all the Episcopal conference heads from around the world, is set to get underway. This story, which has now been picked up by major American news outlets like Breitbart, does not cite any sources for its claim, but it says that the CDF is nearly finished with their examination of McCarrick's case and will be reaching a judgment over the most serious of his crimes of abuse in the coming days. Critics of the move's timing, and by critics I mean me especially, are concerned that this is little more than a PR stunt at the expense of a used-up power broker, too old and too radioactive to be of any more value to Rome anymore. After having just been told by prelates close to the Pope to lower our expectations for the coming summit on clerical sex abuse, a McCarrick defrocking, while entirely appropriate considering his crimes, would look like little more than a ceremonial offering to the media gods in an attempt to over-deliver after rather emphatically under-promising. I sincerely doubt that anyone will be fooled by this, but then again, people still put raisins in things that are perfectly fine without raisins, so anything's possible. Until next time, I'm Steve Skojak. Thanks for watching. And that the former We're gonna hook that back up. We're gonna get into our phone app because I can't see nothing on my camera. But I gotta connect it through the Wi-Fi. And it goes over them airwaves. And then it syncs up with the camera and then I can see myself, but I don't move around very fast and I got dark circles under my eyes because I don't got no makeup person. Any which way, if I get in here, I'm supposed to be able to hit stop. So I'm just gonna go ahead and hit this button right here because I think that it